Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Saturday, July 5th. Today, we're going to take a bigger, closer, more detailed look at uh, sketch writing. Yes, that thing I love to do. So, sketch writing is really important, especially if you're a film composer or any kind of composing for dance or visual media of any sort or installation, whatever you're art installation composing, whatever you're doing composing for, it's really important to listen very carefully to your mixes, but also understand how you can conceptualize a really beautiful piece of music using just a few simple items. You know, it's like a great recipe doesn't always have to involve lots of ingredients. It's how you're using those ingredients. So I was messing around with the clarinet a few days ago, and I was playing some ideas, and I came up with this idea. So that figure is pretty repetitive, and I just decided to loop it. And often when I'm working on a piece of music, I'm sometimes conceptualizing vis-a-vis the piano, but oftentimes I have better outcome. I have a better outcome when I pick up an instrument that is a primary instrument that I play, and I start messing around with ideas on that, and then I build a composition around that. So this is what I've done, and it's a very simple composition. It's not complicated at all, but it's important to understand the use and the stereo output track and some basic mixing in order to get things to sound good. So I'm going to play the whole composition from front to back. And if you're one of these people, if you're one of these individuals who can only get through 10 seconds of my video content because it's very boring, I'm sorry. You're going to have to be a little bit more patient if you want to see the whole thing, because there's a lot of good stuff, especially that happens midway and towards the end. So you can maybe fast forward to that now, or you can be patient and wait. Try it out. Anyway, here we go. So, All right. And that piano note for dramatic effect. So, a couple of things. The piece started with me just doing a real simple improvisation, a few notes. Again, one method to approach sketching is to write really simply and orchestrate beautifully. Those should be the first and second commandment. Again, I'm an atheist. I'm not pushing a dogma here. But if there were commandments in music production, not so much music production, but maybe composition, if you're having trouble writing, simple and then orchestrate beautifully. That should be your MO, especially if you're new at this or you're a seasoned veteran at this and you're just messing around. There's no reason why something easy can't sound great. And a lot of composition is based around this principle. I mean, if we look at Bernard Herrmann, a lot of really great simple ideas that he orchestrated beautifully. So all that aside, let's talk about the instruments we're using. Well, first of all, we have a clarinet played by me, but we also have two Spitfire instruments that I really like a lot, especially for conceptualizing. We have the fragile string Evos and we have the LCO Orchestra. So the London Contemporary Orchestra that's running in Contact and the Evolutions. So let's play them together. Let's try that again. Let's play them together. Oh, that's interesting. So there's quite a bit of tape saturation that I've added to that. So let's take the tape saturation down. I was messing around with this earlier. And let's can I do this? There we go. It's such great kind of ideas. Such great ideas and such a great sort of template to start from. So that's using both of these together. So when you add them in with the clarinet, so let's talk about the clarinet. Again, simple idea. So you get this really beautiful sort of template. Now, up top, there is, of course, Augmented Strings by Arturia. So it's not a Spitfire ad, because if it was, they'd get very, very angry I was bringing in other instrument libraries in here. So again, it's not just one library set, it's always a blend. And there's so much drama. Oh, I like that. Again. Changing one note in the clarinet part instead of boom, boom, boom. Like that would be interesting. In fact, okay, I like that. So this again happens a lot when I'm working. I come up with an idea when I'm demoing it for you folks. Oh, get out of here. Ignore this warning. There we go. Let's go back. Just keeping it real on a Saturday. Let's go back to that. C. No. B. No. A. Huh. Interesting. Stressing out a little bit. Don't want to lose that idea. Let me make sure I haven't lost that idea. Okay, I haven't. See, this is why you have to really track what you're doing. Real time errors. That's what I love about doing these videos in an unedited fashion. So let's unpack that and let's go back to instance C. And let's go back to that lovely loop that we did. So again, you know, while we're working, hearing what you've done and then coming up with something different that you can readapt into the composition or use later in another composition. Or in this case, it's a sketch. So that little piece I came up with, that chord, that will then become a part of this at some point when I release it. And I'm not sure if I'm going to release it or not. So it may end up going into a yet to be scored movie. I don't know. So I generally write a lot. So if I'm having a day where I'm not inspired, I can just pull one of these ideas out of the hat. But back to the video. So if you've been really, really patient and you've stuck around for the last 8 to 10 minutes and you've gotten to this part, then we can get to the mixing part, which everybody wants to know about because that's what all my students say. How do you mix things? Okay. And I don't mean it I don't mean to make, I don't mean to minimize how difficult it is to mix because it can be difficult, but I'm going to talk about my approach to this. And we're going to listen to the first 8 bars or the first minute or so, and then we're going to take everything out and you'll hear how different it sounds. Now, what's really interesting about this particular composition is the augmented strings. There's almost no mixing on those. Those are just straight out of the box. The LCO orchestra is the same way. The LCO sounds great. It doesn't need much. It sounds amazing just the way that it is. Now, what I may do globally, though, to this, because I'm triggering 2 different instances of the LCO, and I'm using one MIDI channel to trigger them. I'm not doing any kind of multi-output mode on this. So what I might do is I might use the tape saturation in Abbey Road, and we'll just listen to this. So that's how it sounds now. And it's quiet. It's not very loud. We'll go through these presets. Definitely not that. These are cool, though. Oh, that's cool. But maybe something like overheads. Let's turn that up a little bit. So it's in now. And I'll keep the sustain going. So just with this in, this overhead tape saturation in, the presence immediately changes in the track. It brings it up a lot. So we're going to actually keep that in. I'm going to save that for later. And I'm going to put it back down to where it was. Another thing that we can do to really increase the overall impact of that is to put just a little bit of limiting or gain sort of adjustment using the Slate Digital FGX here, and we can bring this up maybe a bit, and this will really give this more presence here. And what's interesting about this is you can introduce some distortion if you change the ITP setting here. So we can do, for example, thickens it. So we lose a lot of presence. And we lose also a lot of that sort of dimensional ambience that you get from the tape saturation. So if we bring that in, it's going to change the overall dynamic content of it a lot. And that makes this sound a lot warmer, actually, I think, than it was sounding previous to this. Now, the most important thing we're going to focus on, though, is the main output track. So we've heard this track several times. And now on the main output track, I'm using the tape saturation again, mastering mid-frequency enhancer. I'm also using the Abbey Road TG Mastering Live plugin. And the live plugin, I think, uses more processing power, but it allows for less latency, especially if you're playing. So again, this is an emulation of the mastering deck at Abbey Road that is an analog mastering deck. So it doesn't have the quick response that, let's say, the isotope maximizer would have, but it's got this nice umami kind of goodness that it adds to the track. And if we listen to the track minus these, both of these, you're going to hear a real difference in the overall output level of the track. So we're going to look at the U lean meter, and you're going to hear a huge difference too. So here we go from the start. So it sounds really, really dull to me. And if I add this back in, it changes the overall timbre, and not so much timbre, but the overall presence of it in a way that you'll hear in a second. So big difference in terms of that. So that's just really, really kind of a quick outcome for that. Now, I want to talk about the clarinet track because it's important. Not because I'm playing the clarinet, but because I'm using Vienna mirror. And again, mirror is really, really important, especially if you're recording a lot of instruments in a project studio. If the project studio's acoustics are good, there's not a lot of resonance in the studio itself. The materials are good. You have a lot of diffuse surfaces, and you can get a good sound. Then the trick is to build the ambience of that. And Alan Meyerson uses mirror a lot, actually, in his work. And it's something I love using, too. I've been using mirror for over 10 years now. And it's just an intricate part of my workflow, especially as it relates to acoustic instruments. So that clarinet part, without mirror, I mean, we'll play it, and you're going to notice a huge difference. So here we go. No mirror. And the setting we're using in mirror for this is the Foyer. So let's get that out. I'll show you that. So that's the Foyer in mirror. So hopefully this video was helpful, and I'm going to post it immediately. Although you shouldn't have to worry about that if you're watching the video. If you've made it to the end of the video, congratulations. Your medication is working, and you're able to pay attention. So thank you.